It was a quiet night. The small house stood at the edge of the forest where only the sound of crickets and the wind in the trees could be heard. Inside, the man sat alone at his desk, reading an old book. The world outside felt calm, silent, almost too silent. Then it happened. A sound. Knock, knock, knock. The man froze. At this hour, no one should be here. He looked at the clock on the wall. Midnight. The sound came again, weaker this time, like someone who had little strength. Left, knock, knock. His heart began to beat faster. Who could it be? A lost traveler? A thief? Or something else entirely? He stood up slowly, every step heavy as he moved toward the door. The air around him felt tense, like the moment before a storm. The knocking stopped. Silence. For a second, he thought he had imagined it. But then, he heard a faint sound, a whisper, a breath. With a deep breath of his own, he unlocked the door and pulled it open. There, lying on the doorstep, was not what he expected. It was not a human at all. A figure collapsed at his feet. She was small, fragile, and trembling. Her skin was pale with faint glowing marks that ran across her arms like silver rivers. Her eyes, half open, glowed softly in the dark. She was dressed in a strange torn suit, like armor, but burned and broken. She looked like a woman, but not from Earth. The man's first thought was fear. His second thought was disbelief. Was this real? Was he dreaming? But then she made a weak sound, almost like a whimper. Her lips moved, but only a soft word escaped. Please. It was enough. She was alive, she was real, and she was in trouble. The man bent down, his hands shaking, and touched her shoulder. Her body was cold, far colder than any human's. Her breathing was weak. She was starving, exhausted, maybe even dying. He felt a rush of pity, stronger than fear. Hey, can you hear me? He whispered. Her glowing eyes flickered open, and for a moment she looked at him, as if searching his soul. Then she lost her strength again and went still. The man knew one thing. He couldn't leave her out. Here. If someone else saw her, it would be chaos. If she stayed outside, she might not live through the night. He had to make a choice. And he had to make it fast. With effort, he lifted her into his arms. She was surprisingly light, almost weightless, like a feather. But he could feel the heat of her wounds and the weakness in her body. Carrying her inside, he shut the door quickly, locking it behind him. He laid her gently on the couch. Under the light, he saw her face more clearly. She was beautiful, but in a way no human could be. Her features were soft, yet strange, with patterns on her skin that shifted faintly like stars moving in the night sky. But she was not just beautiful. She was broken, hungry, afraid. As he stood over her, questions filled his mind. Who was she? Where had she come from? Why was she here, at his door of all places? And most importantly, who or what was chasing her? The man went to the kitchen, filled a glass with water, and brought it back. He tried to help her drink, but she barely moved. Then, with trembling fingers, she reached for the bread on the table. Her movements were clumsy, desperate. He quickly tore a piece and placed it near her mouth. She ate with such hunger it shocked him, as if she hadn't eaten in days. Watching her, he felt something shift inside him. Fear began to fade, replaced by something else. Curiosity, compassion, a strange connection he couldn't explain. When she finished, she looked at him again, her glowing eyes softer now. She whispered one word, safe. And then she closed, her eyes falling into deep sleep. The man stood still, staring at her. Outside, the night was dark, but suddenly it felt heavier, like unseen eyes were watching the house. He walked to the window and pulled the curtain shut. Somewhere far in the forest, he thought he heard a sound, low, metallic, not natural. Something, was out there. Something searching. He turned back to the alien woman sleeping on his couch. She looked so peaceful now, so fragile, like a child. He felt the weight of a decision pressing down on him. He could throw her out and pretend this never happened. Or he could keep her here, protect her, and risk his own life. He didn't know why, but deep down, he already knew his answer. That night, as the wind howled outside, the man sat awake, watching, over the strange guest who had knocked on his door. His heart was full of fear, but also something stronger, hope, and a sense that his life had just changed forever. Because sometimes, a simple knock on the door is the beginning of a story bigger than anyone can imagine. The first rays of morning light touched the small house. Birds began to sing in the forest, but inside the man had not slept. He sat in the chair across from the couch, watching the strange guest he had carried inside the night before. She still lay there, breathing softly. Her chest rose and fell with effort, as if each breath was a battle. Her torn suit looked like it had survived fire, sharp claws, or maybe even weapons unknown to this world. The man rubbed his tired eyes. He asked himself again, "What have I done?" Bringing. Her inside had been the only choice in the moment, but now, with daylight, his fear returned. She was not human. She was not from here. If someone found out, what would happen? Scientists? Government? Soldiers? His small, quiet life would end forever. Yet when he looked at her face, all those thoughts softened. She looked peaceful, almost childlike. Not a monster, not a danger, just lost. Suddenly she stirred. Her glowing eyes opened slightly, blinking at the light. For a moment confusion filled her gaze, as if she had forgotten where she was. Then she looked at him. He froze, unsure what to do. She opened her mouth, but no words came. Instead, her stomach made a sound. A low, desperate growl. She was starving. The man quickly stood and went to the kitchen. He placed bread, some fruits, and a glass of water on the table near her. She raised herself slowly, trembling as if her body refused to obey. Her hands shook when she reached for the bread. He tore a piece for her and placed it in her hands. She took it to her mouth, biting with sharp, tiny teeth that looked human but weren't. She chewed with hunger, like someone who hadn't eaten in days. The man watched in silence. Something about the way she ate touched him deeply. Each bite was full of desperation, as if food was more than survival. It was hope. She looked at him between bites, her glowing eyes softer now, as if thanking him without words. He poured water into a cup and held it out. She grabbed it carefully, drinking in small, quick sips. Then a quiet sound escaped her lips. "Thank..." The word was broken, clumsy, but clear. The man blinked. She spoke English, or at least tried. "You, thank..." "Safe." Her voice was thin, almost like a whisper carried by the wind. He leaned forward. "You're safe here," he said slowly, pointing to the ground, then to her. "Safe," she repeated after him, struggling with the sound. "Safe." Her lips curled into the smallest smile. For a second, the man forgot his fear. That single word from her made the room feel warmer. But the peace did not last long. As she ate, he noticed the marks on her skin glowing brighter. Strange patterns, almost like symbols, ran across her arms and neck. They pulsed faintly, as if reacting to the food and water. It was beautiful, but also unsettling. "What are you?" he whispered to himself. She seemed to understand his question, even if he hadn't asked it directly. She touched her chest weakly and said one word: "Lost." The man's chest tightened. Whoever she was, wherever she came from, she was alone. And now she was in his home. She looked around the small living room, touching the blanket on the couch, the wooden table, the cup of water. Every little thing seemed new to her, like a child discovering the world for the first time. When she saw a small picture frame of his family on the shelf, she stared at it for a long time. She pointed at the photo. "Family?" she asked. The man nodded. Yes. Family. She touched her chest again, then pointed at him. Her lips trembled as she whispered the word slowly. Family. The man froze. The word hit him harder than he expected. Family? She was calling him that? Already? He wanted to protest, to tell her no, that wasn't how it worked. But when he looked into her glowing eyes, he saw something deeper. She wasn't just repeating a word. She was giving him trust. A stranger. An alien. And she had chosen to call him family. Before he could respond, a noise outside broke the moment. The man's head snapped toward the window. It was faint but real. A low hum, metallic, unnatural. The same sound he thought he had heard the night before. The alien woman's eyes widened. She sat up straighter, trembling. Her glowing marks brightened, and she whispered something in her own language. Her voice carried fear. The man quickly closed the curtains. His heart raced. If something or someone was out there, it was looking for her. He turned back to her. She was shaking, clutching the blanket tightly. Her lips formed one word in English. Hide. The man swallowed hard. He didn't know what danger was coming, but he understood one thing clearly. She wasn't safe yet, and if he kept her here, neither was he. The house was quiet again, but the silence no longer felt peaceful. It felt heavy, like a secret pressing down on the walls. The man moved carefully, closing every curtain, checking every lock. His ears strained for any sound outside, but only the faint hum of the forest came through. On the couch, the alien woman sat curled beneath a blanket. Her glowing eyes followed his movements, sharp and alert despite her weakness. She was no longer just a guest. She was a secret, one that could destroy his life if anyone discovered her. The man sat back in his chair across from her. For a while, neither spoke. She looked small, fragile, almost human. Yet the glowing marks across her arms told another story. Marks that seemed alive, shifting faintly like rivers of light beneath her skin. Finally, she broke the silence. You, afraid? Her words were slow, broken, but clear enough. The man hesitated, then gave a short nod. Yes, afraid. She tilted her head, as if testing the word. Then she pointed to herself. Afraid, too. That simple admission surprised him. Somehow it made the distance between them feel smaller. She wasn't just some strange creature from the stars. She was afraid, just like him. The man leaned forward. Who? Chasing you? He asked, speaking slowly, pointing to the window. Her expression changed. Her glowing eyes darkened, and her lips pressed tight. She looked down at her hands, trembling. Then she whispered a word in her own language, sharp and quick like a hiss. He didn't understand, but the fear in her voice told him enough. Whoever or whatever was out there, they were dangerous. The man sighed. He rubbed his forehead, trying to think. He had taken in a stranger from beyond the stars, and now he was sitting in his living room, asking himself questions no human should ever face. Still, when he looked at her again, he saw not a threat, but a survivor. A lost soul clinging to life. She must have felt his eyes on her because she looked back, her voice soft. Safe? He nodded slowly. Safe. Here. For the first time she smiled, not wide but small and gentle. That smile unsettled him more than her glowing skin. It carried a weight of trust he wasn't sure he deserved. Night crept in quickly, the forest outside swallowed by shadows. The man turned off the lights, leaving only a lamp glowing faintly in the corner. The alien woman lay down again, curling beneath the blanket. Her breathing grew steady, almost like a child drifting into dreams. But the man could not sleep. He sat near the window, listening. Every snap of a twig outside, every gust of wind made his heart jump. He thought he saw faint flashes of light deeper in the forest, small, cold beams that moved unnaturally like searchlights. His hands tightened into fists. They're looking for her. He turned back to the couch. She slept soundly now, but her glowing marks pulsed gently, like a heartbeat of light. They seemed to react to the world around her, dimming and brightening in rhythm with her breaths. As he watched her, he noticed scars on her arms, faint but deep. Old wounds, some healed, some not. She had seen battles, maybe even wars. She looked delicate, but her body told the truth. She was a fighter, and yet she slept in his home now, trusting him to protect her. The man whispered to himself, "What are you really?" His eyes grew heavy, but every time he closed them, he imagined waking to find the door broken open, machines tearing through his walls, lights flashing across her glowing skin. So he stayed awake, watching, listening. At some point, she stirred, in her sleep. Her lips moved, whispering words in her language. Her face twisted in pain as if caught in a nightmare. Without thinking, the man stood and placed a hand gently on her shoulder. She flinched at first, then slowly relaxed, her breathing calming again. In that moment, he realized something strange. Fear had brought her to his door. Fear had kept him awake all night. But now, seeing her vulnerable, he felt something different. A responsibility, not because she was an alien, not because she was special, but because she needed someone. And somehow fate had chosen him. The hours dragged on, the night thick with tension. Once he thought he heard the metallic hum again, closer than before. His chest tightened and he gripped the nearest object like a weapon. But the sound faded into the forest. Still, he knew it was only a matter of time. Finally, as dawn approached, the alien woman opened her eyes again. She looked at him, still sitting in the chair, still awake. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then, in a voice soft but certain, she whispered, "Family." The word settled in the air like a promise. The man looked at her, speechless. She didn't say it as a question this time. She said it as truth. He swallowed hard. Something inside him shifted, deeper than fear, deeper than doubt. She had chosen him, not as a stranger, not even as a savior, but as family. And in that moment, he understood the danger outside didn't matter. He would not hand her over. He would not let anyone take her. That night, he had gained not just a guest, not just a burden, but something far heavier, someone who believed she belonged with him. The first night was over, but he knew the story had only begun. The morning sun slipped through the curtains, painting the room with soft light. The man stretched his tired arms. He had not slept. His eyes were red, his body heavy, but his mind was sharper than ever. On the couch, the alien woman slowly sat up. Her glowing eyes blinked against the light and she rubbed her face with trembling hands. She looked stronger than yesterday, but still weak, still fragile. The man placed a plate of food on the table, bread, fruit, and a glass of water. She looked at it as if it were treasure. Carefully, she picked up the bread, biting into it with quiet hunger. For a while they ate in silence, but silence was no longer enough. The man needed answers. He leaned forward, pointing to himself. "Human." Then he pointed at her. "You... what?" She paused, her eyes uncertain. Her lips moved, slowly struggling with the words. "Not human, far." She pointed upward, toward the sky. "Far, home." The man felt his stomach tighten. She was confirming what he already guessed. She wasn't from this world. He tried again. "Why here? Why me?" Her glowing eyes filled with a sadness that made her look older than she seemed. She touched the scars on her arm, then whispered one word. "War." The man's heart sank. War. It explained the broken suit, the scars, the fear in her voice. She wasn't just lost. She was running. She pressed her hands together, as if to show something being torn apart. Chased. Hunted. The man pictured it in his mind, her people fighting, losing, scattering into the stars. She must have fled, searching for safety, and ended up here. But why his doorstep? Why Earth at all? Her voice broke his thoughts. Humans different, he blinked. Different? She nodded slowly, pointing at his chest. Humans give family, not cage. The words hit him harder than he expected. Family again. That word seemed to be everything to her. The man's throat felt dry. He wanted to ask more, but she seemed exhausted from speaking. She leaned back against the couch, closing her eyes for a moment. The glowing marks on her arms flickered, dimming and brightening like a heartbeat of light. After a pause, she opened her eyes again and said something strange. You, strong, not power, not weapon, strong, here. She touched her chest, right over her heart. The man stared at her, speechless. She wasn't talking about muscles or technology. She was talking about something else, something human. Outside, a sudden noise broke the moment. A faint hum, metallic and sharp, drifted in through the walls. The alien woman's eyes widened. She grabbed his arm tightly, her strength surprising. Here, she whispered, voice trembling. They hear. The man's chest tightened. He rushed to the window, pulling the curtain aside just a crack. Deep in the forest, something moved. Not an animal. A light, cold, white, scanning the trees like a hunter's eye. His blood ran cold. They were searching. He quickly shut the curtain and turned back. She was shaking, whispering words in her own language, clutching the blanket like a shield. Her glowing marks brightened in panic. The man knelt beside her. Stay. Quiet. She looked at him, eyes wide with fear. For a moment he thought she might break down completely, but then she whispered a word in English. Trust. The man nodded, even though his own hands shook. Trust. Minutes passed like hours. The sound outside grew closer, then faded again. Searchlights swept through the forest, but none touched the house. Eventually the hum faded into silence. Only then did he breathe again. The alien woman relaxed slowly, her glowing marks dimming. She leaned against the couch, weak from fear. The man sat beside her, his own heart pounding. He finally whispered, They want you. Why? She looked at him with tired, heavy eyes. Her lips parted, and for the first time her voice carried more than fear. It carried truth. Because last. The words hung in the air like thunder. The man stared at her, not understanding at first. Last? What do you mean? She touched her chest, her scars, her glowing marks. Last of me. The man felt the weight of her words sink deep. She wasn't just a refugee. She was the last of her kind, the only one left. Silence filled the room again, but it was not the same silence as before. It was heavier, more dangerous. The man realized something in that moment. Taking her in wasn't just an act of kindness. It was a responsibility larger than he could imagine. He wasn't just hiding a guest. He was protecting the last survivor of an entire people. And if her hunters found her, they would not stop until she was gone. The alien woman looked at him, her voice soft, trembling but certain. You. Family. You. Safe. The man swallowed hard, fear and determination mixing inside him. He didn't know what the future held, but he knew one thing for certain. From this moment forward, her secret was his secret, and he would protect it no matter the cost. The night was thick with silence, but the man could not rest. He paced across the small room, his eyes moving between the window and the couch where the alien woman sat curled under a blanket. Outside, the forest felt alive with danger. Strange. Lights had passed hours ago, sweeping through the trees like hunting eyes. The sound of metallic engines still echoed faintly in his memory, a reminder that her pursuers were close, and growing closer. The alien woman did not sleep. She sat upright, her glowing marks pulsing faintly, her eyes wide and filled with worry. Every little sound outside made her flinch. Every creak of the house made her tense. She was ready to run, but too weak to escape. The man stopped pacing. His chest was heavy with a truth he could no longer ignore. He had to make a choice. He could take her outside right now, leave her in the forest, and hope the machines found her before they found him. It would be the safe choice. For him, his life would remain quiet, normal, untouched. Or he could protect her, stand against whatever was hunting her, risk everything. The man clenched his fists. The decision felt impossible. He looked at her again. She was watching him closely, her glowing eyes shimmering in the dim light. Slowly, she reached out her hand. Her fingers trembled, but the gesture was clear. "Family," she whispered. That single word burned in his mind. She had said it before, but this time it was different. This time, it was not hope. It was a plea. The man sat down across from her, staring at the floor. His voice was rough when he spoke. "If I keep you here, they will come. They will destroy everything." She nodded slowly, her lips pressed tight. She already knew. He looked up, searching her face. "Why me? Why trust me?" She touched her chest, then his, softly, with one glowing finger. "Because human heart strong." The man's throat tightened. She wasn't asking him to be a warrior or a soldier or a hero. She was asking him to simply be human. Outside, the wind shifted. A deep hum grew louder in the distance, steady and cold. Searchers. They were coming again. The man stood, quickly, his body tense. He rushed to the window and peeked through a crack in the curtain. Lights moved closer between the trees. This time, there were more of them. He felt panic rise in his chest. His quiet life was gone. His home was no longer safe. He turned back to her. She was standing now, weak but determined, clutching the blanket like a shield. Her marks glowed brighter, reacting to the threat outside. Her voice shook when she spoke. "They find me. You safe. Alone." The man froze. She was offering to leave, to give herself up. For a moment, the easy choice stared him in the face. He could let her go. Watch her walk into the night, pretend none of this had ever happened. But when he looked at her, really looked, he saw more than an alien fugitive. He saw scars from battles she should not have survived. He saw exhaustion in her eyes, the weight of being the last of her kind. He saw someone who had lost everything, but still managed to whisper the word, family. If he let her go, it would not just be betrayal, it would be murder. His hands shook, but his voice was steady when he finally answered. "No." Her eyes widened. "No?" The man stepped closer, his face hard with determination. "I won't let them take you. If they want you, they'll have to go through me." Her lips parted in shock. She whispered, almost like a child. "You protect?" "Yes." The word was final. It was a vow. For a long moment, she stared at him, as if trying to understand what kind of creature would choose danger instead of safety. Then slowly, she smiled, tired, small, but real. The sound outside grew louder. The lights were close, now sweeping across the edges of the forest. The man grabbed an old hunting rifle from the corner of the room. It was rusty, barely used, but it was something. He checked the door locks, his heart pounding. His life had been ordinary until now, but tonight, he would stand. The alien woman stepped closer to him, placing her glowing hand gently on his arm. "Together," she said softly. The word carried more strength than any weapon. He nodded. "Together." The hum outside grew louder, almost shaking the ground. Shadows moved across the curtains. The hunters were here. The man tightened his grip on the rifle. Fear burned in his chest, but beneath it was something stronger. Resolve. He had made his choice. No matter what came through that door, no matter what machines or monsters waited outside, he would not run. He would not hand her over, because she was right. Humans were different, and tonight he would prove it. The night was thick with silence, but the man could not rest. He paced across the small room, his eyes moving between the window and the couch where the alien woman sat curled under a blanket. Outside, the forest felt alive with danger. Strange. Lights had passed hours ago, sweeping through the trees like hunting eyes. The sound of metallic engines still echoed faintly in his memory, a reminder that her pursuers were close, and growing closer. The alien woman did not sleep. She sat upright, her glowing marks pulsing faintly, her eyes wide and filled with worry. Every little sound outside made her flinch. Every creak of the house made her tense. She was ready to run, but too weak to escape. The man stopped pacing. His chest was heavy with a truth he could no longer ignore. He had to make a choice. He could take her outside right now, leave her in the forest, and hope the machines found her before they found him. It would be the safe choice. For him. His. Life would remain quiet, normal, untouched. Or he could protect her, stand against whatever was hunting her, risk everything. The man clenched his fists. The decision felt impossible. He looked at her again. She was watching him closely, her glowing eyes shimmering in the dim light. Slowly, she reached out her hand. Her fingers trembled, but the gesture was clear. Family, she whispered. That single word burned in his mind. She had said it before, but this time it was different. This time it was not hope. It was a plea. The man sat down across from her, staring at the floor. His voice was rough when he spoke. If I keep you here, they will come. They will destroy everything. She nodded slowly, her lips pressed tight. She already knew. He looked up, searching her face. Why me? Why trust me? She touched her chest, then his, softly, with one glowing finger. Because human heart strong. The man's throat tightened. She wasn't asking him to be a warrior or a soldier or a hero. She was asking him to simply be human. Outside, the wind shifted. A deep hum grew louder in the distance, steady and cold. Searchers. They were coming again. The man stood, quickly, his body tense. He rushed to the window and peeked through a crack in the curtain. Lights moved closer between the trees. This time there were more of them. He felt panic rise in his chest. His quiet life was gone. His home was no longer safe. He turned back to her. She was standing now, weak but determined, clutching the blanket like a shield. Her marks glowed brighter, reacting to the threat outside. Her voice shook when she spoke. They find me. You safe. Alone. The man froze. She was offering to leave, to give herself up. For a moment, the easy choice stared him in the face. He could let her go. Watch her walk into the night. Pretend none of this had ever happened. But when he looked at her, really looked, he saw more than an alien fugitive. He saw scars from battles she should not have survived. He saw exhaustion in her eyes, the weight of being the last of her kind. He saw someone who had lost everything but still managed to whisper the word, family. If he let her go, it would not just be betrayal. It would be murder. His hands shook, but his voice was steady when he finally answered. No. Her eyes widened. No? The man stepped closer, his face hard with determination. I won't let them take you. If they want you, they'll have to go through me. Her lips parted in shock. She whispered, almost like a child. You protect? Yes. The word was final. It was a vow. For a long moment she stared at him, as if trying to understand what kind of creature would choose danger instead of safety. Then, slowly, she smiled. Tired. Small. But real. The sound outside grew louder. The lights were close, now sweeping across the edges of the forest. The man grabbed an old hunting rifle from the corner of the room. It was rusty, barely used, but it was something. He checked the door locks, his heart pounding. His life had been ordinary until now, but tonight he would stand. The alien woman stepped closer to him, placing her glowing hand gently on his arm. "Together," she said softly. The word carried more strength than any weapon. He nodded. "Together." The hum outside grew louder, almost shaking the ground. Shadows moved across the curtains. The hunters were here. The man tightened his grip on the rifle. Fear burned in his chest, but beneath it was something stronger. Resolve. He had made his choice. No matter what came through that door, no matter what machines or monsters waited outside, he would not run. He would not hand her over, because she was right. Humans were different, and tonight he would prove it. The night dragged on like a storm that refused to break. The man sat by the window, his face pale in the faint glow of the lamp. Outside, the forest was too quiet, as if the animals themselves had hidden from what was coming. On the couch, the alien woman watched him. Her glowing eyes followed every step he took, every breath he drew. She could feel the weight pressing down on him. A choice. A terrible choice. He pressed his hands to his face, whispering to himself, "What am I doing?" His life had been simple before. Ordinary. A job, a house, silence. Now, in the span of days, everything had changed. A stranger from the stars sat in his home, calling him family, while hunters from the dark sky searched the forest. He turned to her suddenly. "If they come here, they'll kill me. They'll destroy this house. They'll take you." His voice cracked. "I should let you go." Her lips trembled. She lowered her head, whispering, "If I go, you safe?" The man stared at her. For a long moment, silence filled the room. Her words were simple, logical, true. She was offering to sacrifice herself so he could live. And yet, as he looked at her, he saw more than an alien. He saw the faint scars on her arms carved deep into skin that glowed like light through glass. He saw the way she flinched at every sound outside, too tired to fight, too broken to keep running. He saw her eyes glowing with fear, but also with hope. Hope placed in him. She wasn't just asking for shelter. She was asking for belonging. He felt his chest tighten. Could he really betray that trust? The alien woman spoke again, her voice barely a whisper. "You... afraid?" "Yes," he admitted. His throat was dry. "I'm terrified." She nodded slowly. "Me too." Something inside him shifted. For the first time, he saw her not as a visitor, not as a burden, but as someone like him, afraid, lost, searching for safety. Outside, the night cracked open with sound. A low hum spread through the trees, steady and mechanical. Lights glowed faintly between the trunks, sweeping left and right. The hunters were moving closer. The alien woman's glowing marks brightened in panic. She grabbed his sleeve with trembling hands. "They hear!" His heart pounded. The moment had come. He had two paths. Give her up. Hand her to the hunters. Live. Forget this ever happened. Protect her. Fight for her. Risk everything. His eyes darted to the door, then back to her. She was staring at him, her chest rising and falling quickly, her eyes pleading. "Family," she whispered, her voice cracking. The word cut deep. It was not just a word anymore. It was her truth. The man closed his eyes. His hands shook, but his decision solidified like stone. He opened his eyes again, and there was no fear left. Only fire. "No," he said firmly. Her lips parted. "No, I won't let them take you." His voice was steady now. "If they want you, they'll have to go through me." The alien woman stared at him, her glowing eyes wide. For a moment, she looked almost human in her shock. Then her expression softened. Her hand rose, weak but certain, and she pressed it to his chest. "Together," she said. The man nodded once. "Together." The humming outside grew louder, vibrating through the walls. Shadows moved past the windows, cold beams of light sweeping over the ground. He grabbed the old hunting rifle from the corner. It was rusty, old, and weak, but it was all he had. He checked the door. His breath came fast. His mind screamed at him to run, but his body stood firm. The alien woman stepped, beside him though her legs shook. She was still weak, but her marks glowed brighter now, as if her fear had become strength. He glanced at her. "Stay behind me." She shook her head. "No. Fight. With you." Outside, the hum became a roar. Lights spilled across the edge of the forest, climbing higher, cutting through the night. The man gripped his rifle tighter. His heart thundered, but his decision did not waver. He could have chosen safety. He could have chosen silence. But he hadn't. He had chosen her. He had chosen family. The hunters were at his door, and he was ready.